for joining me. So, I wanted to talk about journaling today. It's something that I have historically struggled to get into a consistent rhythm with. It's something that I've always felt like I love the idea of, but actually finding a practice that worked for me was something that I have not really felt I found until now. So I challenged myself to start writing daily, and through that, I kind of ended up turning this into a daily journaling thing. So I've been doing this for over a month now, and I've learned some things that really helped to shift my mindset about journaling and find something that actually works for me. So to start with, I think it's important to talk about our why. When we're starting to do something, I think it's important to know what our motivations are and evaluate if they are the best motivations, if there's some other things that we can use as well. So when I was journaling in the past, when I tried to journal, my why was a little bit different. So my why was more related to me wanting to track something specific. So it was usually like a health related thing, or like how well I was managing my ADHD, things like that. And while that's good, if I stop caring about that particular motivator, then the whole practice kind of falls through. So I think it's important, especially for me, to have more than one why, to kind of have a bulk of whys. So my initial why was I wanted to get better at writing, basically. So I challenged myself to write every day, and it kind of turned into this journaling practice. And I actually wrote down why I wanted to do this in like the second day that I did this challenge. And as per my journal, it says to hopefully get better at expressing myself, hopefully find my writing voice, to get a record of what I'm doing and what I'm going through, to get into the habit of writing through ideas and move them from my head to paper and hopefully be able to flesh them out. But now I have even more whys, more reasons that I'm motivated to continue with journaling. And those are things like that I want to have a way to kind of assess how I'm doing with my goals, and also to kind of make sure that I'm doing things that are actually in alignment with what I want. So what I'm doing in my journal, we'll talk about what my journaling is like, but I have been both recounting the things that I've done the previous day and also making a list of things that I'm prioritizing for the coming day. And if those things are not really aligning with each other, then I have some way of reflecting on that. So I kind of wanted that, but I also wanted to be able to see like, hey, you know what, you're actually doing okay. You're actually doing these things. Like, it's a good way to see progress. It's also been a really good way for me to organize my thoughts and also to plan out my day. It's a really good way for me to also track not only my life, like health things and just like how I'm doing day to day, things that maybe are helpful to look back on later, but also I'm writing down things that I want to remember about people I care about as well. Because I struggle with like remembering my own stuff. I struggle with remembering like when certain health things happen to me. So I'm just like trying to have notes of like things that I think are good to remember, just for like being a better support person for the people that I care about. And then also it's just a really good way for me to start my day, to start it with something that I feel good about, that I write my own rules for, and that helps me to organize what I want out of the day. So lots of whys, and I'm sure those whys will change, but I think it's important to check in every once in a while with your whys and how sustainable those whys are. I think I've benefited from the times that I tried to journal in the past and they were a specific motivator, but I just have to remember that that why was not really in alignment with like having a continuous daily practice for me, because of how things can change my motivation to like actually care about how well my ADHD is managed, or to actually care about a certain health issue, if I'm not dealing with that health issue anymore, then I'm not necessarily going to continue that practice. So just check in with your why. It will change, and that's okay. And you can totally be a temporary journal, like you can totally be a fair weather journaler or a tough weather journaler. You can have specific times in your life where you journal, or you can try and have a consistent practice with it. I am finding that having a consistent practice with it has been very rewarding for me so far. But I just want to say there's no, like, we'll talk about this more in this video, but there is no one correct way to journal, and you can journal at whatever regularity or irregularity works for you to get the benefits you want out of journaling. So let's talk a little bit about what my daily journal practice is like right now. So I have found that for me, I really like writing in the morning. That way I don't like push it off until I'm really tired and then it's just something that I'm like half-assing. I like to start my day with it. So I've linked it in with something else that I enjoy, which is having a warm coffee or a warm tea. So when I have that, then my prompt is to journal. Now I'm just trying to reach for my journal rather than reach to spend time on my phone right away. When I'm writing into my journal, I usually start out with date and time, and I start out with my morning journals for recounting things from the previous day or like up to when I start writing, just like how did I sleep? What were things that I accomplished the other day? What are things that what are updates in terms of like people that I care about? So I just put like any things that have occurred in the last day that seem noteworthy enough for me to put into my journal. And I'll put like extra little reflections or thoughts kind of throughout if that is inspired as I'm going through there. And then I will go through some other prompts. So for myself right now, my prompts are discomforts. So what things have happened that were uncomfortable that I got through, what things am I grateful for, what goals I have for my day going forward, and I have a little creative thinking challenge. And I really love this creative thinking challenge. So it's kind of like if you've seen Bob's Burgers, in the opening credits, they have a business next to them, and then they have the pest control company, and it's always got different names. I'm just taking a business idea or a thing that needs a name, and just trying to come up with like 5 or so name ideas just off the top of my head that would work for the specific thing that I'm trying to name. And it's just a fun way to like gamify the journaling and also kind of help with the creative thinking side of things. So love that. Really would recommend finding something that works for you in that realm if you want to make journaling feel like a more fun task for you. So I love ending it with that, and you could do it like as a drawing prompt, and I might change what this creative thinking prompt is over time, but highly, highly recommend if you want to just make your journaling more fun. And then throughout the day, if I do feel inspired to write more things down in a journal, then I will. So now let's talk about some of the things that were really helpful for me to actually get into a consistent journaling routine and ways that I had to shift my mindset. So the first thing that was a game changer for me is I had to stop caring about how the journal looks. And so I would honestly say to uglify things as soon as possible and do not give aesthetics the energy. And the reason I say this is I've struggled so much in the past with leaving like blank pages between little like subjects in notebooks and kind of leaving spaces for like filling things in later. And honestly, that makes it actually less aesthetic. But I think there's like this blank page kind of fear that can come. And just like if you need to, even when you first like start your journal entry, just like scribble something or like do something to make it ugly. Aesthetics are not in alignment with any of my goals for journaling. So why am I putting energy into that? And it also just is hindering me from writing as uninhibited as I could be. So I just suggest, don't care about how the journal looks. If the journal looks too good and you think you're gonna like feel like you're ruining it by writing in a pretty journal, get an ugly journal. Put stuff on it, tape things in there, do whatever makes you feel less intimidated by it. I feel like there's a book of like, destroy this page, destroy this book, like, and it's kind of like you almost want to take some of the elements of that, and just like, if you need to, rip out pages, scribble things, do stuff to make it ugly so that you're not intimidated to use it. Another thing that really helped me was not confining my journaling to any like page amounts. So I've stopped keeping things separate per page. I just like date and time, and then when I'm done writing whatever I'm writing, I just stop. The next time that I'm writing in there, I just sometimes leave like one line and then write the date and time and start doing the next thing. Same with as I'm like taking notes in there, I will still date and time those notes and then just start wherever. If I'm not kind of finished with the idea, doesn't matter. I'm just gonna, when I'm done writing in there, the next thing takes over whenever it takes over. And that really helped to not confine how I was journaling to the size of the page. It looks full at the end of it all, but I'm not writing nonsense just for the sake of filling a page. And I'm not stopping myself from writing more just because something's going to seep over the page. So just not caring about like boundaries that don't make sense was huge for me. The other thing is just reducing friction. So for me, that involves things like having my journal right next to my bed for the one that I mainly use for getting up and doing my morning journaling. However, I also have several other notebooks that I am writing in as I need to throughout the day. So these are put in places that I want to just like write something down, because if I don't do this, then I might write things on my phone, which is fine for like recording ideas. However, then there's the risk of like getting distracted by your phone or needing to find your phone and then forgetting the idea. So just having notebooks close by to just write down ideas as they come has been very helpful for me. So I've just been writing on notebooks that I have in specific other places. So mainly like I'll have one beside my desk, and if I'm going, sometimes I'll take like this little one with me for walks, or if I'm going out and I can fit this in my bag, then it's really easy to add little thoughts and notes into throughout my time doing whatever I'm doing. So reducing friction by thinking about where you are writing. This kind of comes with like the uglifying and like not caring so much. Like some people would be driven crazy by having this many things that you're writing in. But for me, if the priority is to just write things, then I'm okay with that. If you have a different priority, maybe you want to just have like one small thing with you. But yeah, it depends on what your goal is. And with that, like confining your thoughts to the page, like keep in mind that all these booklets are different sizes. And so as I got into that habit of not caring so much about when I stop and end entries, the size of the page does not matter as much for how I think through ideas. So the next thing I just want to say is that you choose the rules of journaling for you, and you can change those rules whenever you need to. So like I did not start out with writing in the morning. I started out with writing at different times in the day, and then I just realized, you know what, I actually really like the idea of starting doing this in the morning. And then I was able to kind of really stick with that through writing in the morning. I knew that it was something that I had already accomplished for the day. That worked for me. But if my schedule completely changed and that did not work for me anymore, that's okay. I can change that rule. I can change the rule, like what prompts I use if I feel like the prompts that I'm using don't serve me anymore. I can change like how often I do it if that does not work for me anymore. So you can change rules whenever you need to, and that's the beauty of journaling. It is for you. I had to get over my preconceived ideas that journaling is like this super deep and reflective process all the time, and like really think through all your emotions and deconstruct everything, and like that's great, but sometimes that's just not me. That's just not my vibe. How you do it doesn't need to be this like super deep reflective thing all the time. It can be literally like making lists. That's totally fine. It can be fun. You can make it into a fun thing to do. As I was going through this video, I kind of came upon this realization. You know what? I've been doing journaling consistently to some degree for quite a lot longer than I have accounted for. I'm counting that I've been consistent with journaling for over a month with this writing challenge that I gave myself. However, I have been logging uncomfortable things that have happened to me or that I've been doing for almost a year now. And that's been technically a way of journaling. And I was starting to think like, what are the other ways that I have been journaling without giving it the label of journal? And I've been doing things like recording my voice. Like sometimes I'll just do little voice memos to go through thoughts. That's a way of journaling. I've also been leaving notes in my phone just as I come up with ideas. That's kind of just another way of journaling. I have been making to-do lists. I write thoughts on whiteboard. If you take pictures of things that you just like are compelled to take pictures of, that's kind of journaling. Your album of pictures is a journal to some degree. So you might disagree with me on this, but I think that journaling, really the essence of it is just finding a way to put out the ideas from your head or onto some form of other thing. And your target audience is not for anybody else. With journaling, it's like doing these things without judgment, just doing these things with the unfiltered version of you, or as unfiltered as you can get. And it just existing as it is. And you may have different ideas of what journaling is. But really, what's the harm in us having different interpretations of journaling? Journaling gatekeeping is like the silliest gatekeeping I've ever heard. So basically, to end this out, I just want to say you probably have been journaling in ways that you have not counted as journaling. And you don't need to have any specific rules that you think exist for journaling if you found a practice that works for you. So I've really been enjoying this daily writing practice where I am going through these prompts and I am being a little bit more structured with it than I have been in the past. I'm more consistent with it for sure than I have been in the past. But I also have probably been discounting how much I journaled in different ways for many, many years without counting it as journaling. So I would just encourage you to think about all the ways that you journal without thinking about it. Let me know what ways you've been journaling without thinking about it as journaling. Let me know what your relationship with journaling has been like, and if you found something that really helped you to shift your mindset in regards to what journaling is for you. Take care.